All right. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us to get a high-level overview of BIMrx Fabrication and BIMrx Core. A real quick reminder before we start, there is a questions section in the lower right, and you can type any questions you have as we go. I've got some teammates here who will respond if they can. Otherwise, we're going to answer everything at the end of the session, or you can absolutely reach out to schedule a separate deeper dive. To put a face to the voice, my name is Ed LaRiviere, and I'm a Strategic Implementation Manager and a Product Owner here at Microdesk. I'm going to be presenting Core and Fabrication. Now, just a little bit before we get started with the demo, I'd like to talk about what BIMrx is. So BIMrx was built to enhance and simplify a Revit and BIM 360. Each of the modules is purpose-built to allow you to get projects out the door faster and spend less time on those low-level tasks, much more time focused on design. BIMrx Core, MEP, and Fabrication are all built to be part of Revit, and Cloud Manager is a standalone application. BIMrx is built to streamline the entire BIM project lifecycle, from views and model production to collaborating with stakeholders in project administration. We're here today to talk about BIMrx Fab and Core. Core is the foundation of all BIMrx products and is focused on project setup, model management, and documentation. Fabrication exists to speed up fabrication modeling workflows, as well as assist in detailing and documenting your models. BIMrx automates those manual repetitive tasks so your team can spend more time on the things that matter most. Now, instead of just talking about it, I'd like to swap to Revit and do a live demo instead. So let's get over there and let's get going. All right. So my architect has just sent me a slightly updated model. That new model has come in, and I've got two whole towers sitting here that I didn't have before. I've already got some floor plans set up. I've got my first floor, 4 levels all good to go. But I really need to get my towers set up as well. So BIMrx Core supplements this workflow pretty amazingly. I'm actually going to set up an entire set of views for this tower in about 3 minutes, something that is an insane amount of time to get done in. So I'm going to jump up here and start first with the Scope Box Manager. So Scope Box Manager is allowing us to not redo work. We're able to jump into the architect's model, find that they've already created tower scope boxes, and I can actually just bring those tower scope boxes directly into my project. So you'll see them sitting here both in green. I can click close, and we'll see those both show up. There it is, I can grab it. Now, if something gets resized, maybe the architect has resized it, or maybe we've got an intern who accidentally dragged one of these things over, and we're not in alignment anymore. We're not up to date. We can jump straight back into that manager, and it actually remembers the link between these models. So if I tell it about the ARC model again, we'll see that these have moved. We are out of date. We need to do something about these. So I can grab those two over on the right. I can update them, and we'll see that these move straight back to where they're supposed to be. So once I've brought my scope boxes in, I really want to start getting my actual views set up. I'm going to do more than just views. We're going to do views and sheets. We're going to get this whole thing ready to go for an SD set. So jumping in immediately, I'm going to go ahead and use the power of Excel to just sort of make all this stuff move quickly. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to load my configuration settings, something that I can generally take from project to project. I have those stashed in a folder over here. I'm going to go find my folder. And I'm going to open up my standard configuration settings. That's going to load me in here. We'll see I'm doing mechanical, plumbing, and electrical power. I want to work on these files over here, 5th through 12th floors. If I click apply, we will see that this whole menu fills out, giving me abbreviations, view names, telling me what type of plan I'm going to be creating, calling out the levels they're associated with, templates we're going to be using, everything we need to set up that sheet. So once I've filled this out for views, I can go ahead and click create, and we'll watch it generate 24 views in about 2 seconds. An incredibly fast amount of time to get those done. I want you to think about doing this manually, right-clicking and duplicating and renaming, or going up to the View tab, going to Plan Views and creating each one individually. It's an incredibly time-consuming task. Now, I created those views in 2 seconds. I can jump straight to Sheets and create an associated set of sheets in maybe 4 seconds, 5 seconds. Oh, not even 3. Beat myself. right? So very, very quick to create those original views and those original sheets. But really, that's not all we want to do. We don't want to just create those views and sheets. We want to do more. I've got 2 whole towers. Realistically, I want an A and a B view for each of those. I can jump straight in here, load in a duplicating view setting box, load that guy right in. I'm going to jump straight back from sheets to views here. And we'll see that I'm able to call out now that I'm using each of those 5th floor plans to generate a tower A and a tower B plan, and also linking each of those to my tower A and tower B scope boxes. So looking through here, I'm doing this for N, P, and E all at the same time. I'm going to click create, and we're going to see 48 separate duplicate as dependent views created in about under 6 seconds. I'm going to close out of here just so we can take a look at these. If we go take a look inside the HVAC folder here, floor plans, there we go. There it is, level 5 through 12, and if we open one of these up, we'll see that they're even being named Tower A and Tower B. An incredibly powerful workflow gets this project set up almost immediately. But wait, there's more. I can jump straight back in here and I can actually place these views on the sheets as well. I'm not just creating it, I am setting it up. So I'm jumping in here, I'm going to load, and I'm going to grab that placement as well. Once that's been brought in here, we'll see that it's actually calling out each plan that we're working with, each view I want to use, and a location for each to be placed. We're given these top right and middle right, so we should expect to see these on the upper right and middle right corner of each of those sheets. I'm going to click create and keep talking while it does this. So if you look at the bottom, it is processing. This is maybe the most lengthy step in the entire process. It takes maybe a little bit under a minute to run. But again, I'd like you to think of what the manual version of this exact same process would be. We're opening up each individual sheet. We are dragging and dropping a view from our project browser to each of those sheets. In fact, we're dragging and dropping 2 views. Once we've dragged and dropped all the views and placed them, they're likely not even going to be in the same spot from sheet to sheet. It's really easy to make it look like multiple companies are making multiple different trades. Using a command or suite of features like this, we can make every single trade, every single sheet, every single level look the exact same and issue an incredibly, incredibly consistent set. So if I close out of here, left, you may have noticed showing up on each of those sheets as we went. I'm just going to pop open a mechanical level 10 plan, and let's take a look at what we actually got here. Right, there's those 2 views, sandwiched to the right, all lined up. It's 11:39, and under 5 minutes, we have set up 12 floors of a project. That is crazy, crazy fast, right? So very easy to do, works in giant projects, works in small projects, wherever you want to do. And we can reuse those files from project to project to make sure that we're not wasting time. So once we got a project set up, we've got some space, some areas in here, we probably need to go and start filling out our model and actually doing some of that modeling. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into one of these mechanical working plans, and I'm going to do some stuff down here. I'm going to get rid of that setup view and start working. The ability to work in 3D. In fact, I almost exclusively work in 3D at this point. So using that window tile to open these 2 things up. I'm going to go ahead and, I've got this pump sitting over here. It's already got a flange kicking off of it. And maybe I want to bring the rest of that header into this place, right? I want to get all this stuff copied over and connected. Typically we're cutting a bunch of section views, moving a bunch of stuff around. Well, boo-hoo to all that. I want to work in 3D. I want to leverage the power of these tools to do this. Copying in 3D, probably not something you're used to doing because it doesn't tend to work. Right? Nothing lines up, impossible to connect, impossible to get it all to move together. Well, I can jump right up here and I can start using these move connect commands to start bringing these together. So if you take a look at this move connect fab, I can go ahead and grab that flange that's sitting over here, grab this element here, and we'll see it aligns, brings it over, and moves them together. If I hit tab through that piece of equipment, we'll notice these things are all connected together. A really, really cool thing we can do. You can actually go in and you can have your keyboard shortcuts loaded in here. So I can have fabrication keyboard shortcuts loaded specifically for every single one of the commands I have across the top. So we'll see elbow up is EE. That move connect that I just did, I can go ahead and line up with an MC as well, right? Very, very quick to bring these together. Once I've connected those together, once those are lined up, I need to make sure my vertical is lined up for my header. I can use the align branch command to choose my header, choose my vertical, and it'll slightly move it to make sure these are a perfect connection. So I can then use the trim extend command that's built into Revit to bring these two elements together. It's an incredibly fast process to start getting these elements connected. It works really, really well. Now, I might just not want to be connecting some stuff together. Maybe I want to actually build in 3D. Maybe I want to work with a whole bunch of these pipes that are sticking out of the corner, right? And if you take a look over here a little bit, we'll see another extra one there. Now, connecting these is pretty easy if they're all on the same plan, right? I can use trim to corner to bring anything that's on the same level back together. Easy enough to connect these, easy enough to connect these. These two here, linking up to that second tier, maybe not so easy, right? That's probably not going to work so well. In fact, I probably want to leave this middle one here open and maybe connect the other two instead. Give myself the correct amount of space to make these connections. So real quick again here, right? We're connecting across there. We're connecting across here. These two need to make it up to the second tier. Well, I can do some of this stuff incredibly, incredibly fast. I can go ahead and use an elbow over. So maybe I'm using elbow right to drop down an elbow here. If I get the wrong direction, it's as simple as an undo and do an elbow left instead. So once I drop those elbows down, I'm going to be able to delete those little extensions off the end of them. I'm going to grab those two extensions. We can remove that extension. I can go ahead and look at both of these fittings, and I can use the rotate fitting command to select that fitting. I can bring this up 45 degrees. Again, if you hit the wrong direction, it's as simple as undoing, doing the same command again, and then doing it in a negative 45 degrees. Run that on the same element over here, rotate fitting, thus in negative 45 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and bloom both of these elements out and give myself an extension. I can start mixing 2D and 3D workflows together at this point. We take a look down here, I see that little extension up and I see the horizontal over here. I can use my align command over here to bring these together. Use my align command over here to bring these together. Now that I know these items are lined up, we want to start bringing them together and actually getting these things to connect, right? Well, I can use my elbow down at a 45 off of these two items over here. My mistake, wrong keyboard shortcuts. Drop those elbow 45s down over here, delete that little extension right here, and then we can use a move connect to make this extension line up and connect to that elbow. So that same move connect fab, grabbing the elbow right here, grabbing that extension, and we'll see it move over, connect, and lines up all together. Very easy, tab through, see everything's connected. That same move connect fab, elbow. Make sure you are clicking very intentionally. Maybe zoom in to make sure you're getting the element you want, and we'll see all those elements connect together nice and easy. Now, this doesn't only work on flat pipe, this also works on slope pipe. So jumping over here really quickly, let's take a look at a piece of slope pipe. If we see over here, we'll notice that there's a little piece of pipe coming up this way and kind of just lining up to go in. Now, those are not lined up to go flat, and I'm going to even show you an extra cool thing. What if I even had a, maybe a little run that's sitting here, and that last bit of the run doesn't even have a slope on the end of it? Well, we're going to take a look at two different situations, a no slope and a slope, and trying to get these to connect. Both of these are horrible situations to be in. Nothing ever wants to connect easily. Well, we have these align branch commands to make all this just simple as heck. If I use this first align branch command on the name right here and the branch connecting to it, we'll see it shifts it up. It is maintain that slope. The slope is not changed over here. And I can use that trim extend to bring these items together. Not a single transition, not a single extra item being brought in. Now, what if I have something that doesn't have a slope but is supposed to? Well, we actually have a fix for that. We have align branch plus. So choose your main, choose your item sloping into it, and it's going to go ahead and pass that slope directly into that element. So when I do that trim extend to bring these together, that will go ahead and connect here as well. Incredibly, incredibly fast to work with that slope pipe. Very easy to work with that flat pipe. Elbows up and elbows down anytime you need them. Now, this stuff doesn't only work with pipe work, it also works with duct work. Let's take a real quick look at these elements down here. If I go ahead and I open these up in 3D, we'll see that I have some, ductwork floating around at different heights. I have some terminals that need to connect. It's just, not really set up yet. Now I can use those align branch commands just like I was doing before to make sure that these are lining up at the correct height to make these connections. So again, using that align branch over here, we can line these items up. We can use those trim extends to bring these items together. And then if I want to use move connect to start connecting those air terminals, I can do that as well. So using that move connect over here, choosing that end of piece, choosing the cap. Very, very quick to start placing these items together in 3D. So we've done some modeling. We've seen it on pipes. We've seen it on ductwork. Once we've done some of that modeling stuff, it's really time to step into the second level, and that's getting some detailing in here. Now, what kind of detailing are we talking about? Well, we can very quickly add some sleeves in, or it's wall or floor. And not only can we add them in, we can set up some options so that sleeves match whatever your shop typically works with. We'll notice we have host size and sleeve size, auto-generating that sleeve size based on the elements you select. Those sleeves, as we look at them, will compare against our LinkedIn background to come up with the correct size. So if I go ahead and I do a wall sleeve across those pipes we are already working with, and I click finish, we'll see that it's going to automatically generate a sleeve the width of that wall for each of these elements. Now, an extra cool thing about those sleeves, these come with nested points inside of them. We'll see in a little bit that there's an entire set of point workflows we can do that export out to total station with no problem. We'll get a little bit more into that when we take a look at the hangers. So these sleeves are being generated. We see them placed across all of them. There they are. If we want to go take a look in 3D, there are those sleeves in 3D for each of those elements. Very, very quick to place, works on walls, works on floors. Now, there's a little bit more detailing we need to do than just placing sleeves. We probably got to work with hangers as well. So let's take a look at how we can maybe make hangers a bit easier to work with. So for our hanger commands, we actually have the ability to set up a configuration. So that configuration says based on size, based on service, what hangers do we want to use? We'll notice for ductwork, I'm saying in any size, I don't care, I want to use trapezes, and then I've got a few settings for my spacing. I've also specified for hot water supply and hot water return, I want to use clevis hangers. If we want to add more, you can absolutely add more rows. Use the host size to determine what size gets what hanger. These hangers we see are all the fabrication hangers that we would have coming from your services. So once I've gone through and specified what I want these to be, I can use that array command, and I can just select elements and it will place them on those elements. So here I am, select a group of elements, click finish. You'll notice it's not going to place it on the cold water, so I have not specified a configuration for the cold water, but it's going to go ahead and place them on everything else. So there's those hangers sitting on the pipe, there's those hangers sitting on the ductwork. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these elements in 3D. Now, there are a couple settings that I chose inside that hanger configuration. I asked it to please extend each hanger until it hits a piece of structure. So if I very quickly toggle on my architectural model, we'll notice that these have extended up right to the point where they intersect with a piece of architecture. I'd also like you to notice that I set the hangers to automatically place points at that endpoint there, right? That's a setting we have in the configuration file. So it's actually dropped those points at the exact endpoint of each of those hangers. I have that setting turned off for pipework. You'll notice over here I did not place those points for pipework. The reason currently being, those hangers, or rather points, once they're placed, that's where they'll be. If your hanger moves, you'll need to delete the points and then use the command hanger points placement to get them back. The recommended workflow right now is to place your hangers and get them located. Once you're happy with where they sit, you can then go back afterwards and place those points because it is incredibly quick to place those points. All I need to do is say, hey, here's some hangers without points. Let me use my hanger points placement. Select those elements, click finish, and it will generate those points for me. We also have the ability to do a hanger route extension. That extension will allow us to kick some of these hangers a little bit further into the steel so we can own that extra space. So maybe I want these to go 2 inches further into the steel. I can do that immediately. Just to note, the points will remain exactly where they were. The points will not move. Recommend placing your points down so they're on the outside of the structure, then extending into it. So when you go ahead and use your laser in the field, it's hitting the correct spot. So placing those hanger points, very easy. Placing those hangers themselves, very easy. So we've gone through, we've done some of that extra level of information there. We've got those hangers placed. Maybe I want to export those out to total station. All I need to do is choose the total station export, select some points, and it will just export that out directly to my desktop. I'm going to save it right there. If I want to go grab those files from my desktop, we will see that total station export, and it's going to give me locations of each of those items that I just selected. There we go, point numbers being called out and giving us a little bit of information about what that element is, right? Those hangers telling us exactly what style hanger it was. Very, very quick to export those out, and that will go straight into a total station service. Now, a really quick thing I'd like to show you that is also happening in the background, we do have access to some additional data you wouldn't normally get access to. I'm going to open up the show pane over here. Anytime we click a piece of fabrication equipment, we're actually getting those additional parameters we're not supposed to see showing up in our fabrication properties. And any of these properties that we see over here, we can actually link up to a standard Revit property by using the BIMrx Fabrication Database Sync. We'll see that right here, that sync fab parameters. We'll notice right now, I am calling out for the weight of each element I am working with. This is going to assist me in doing my point loads. I've pulled that up. It's a value that I can access in Revit, not just something I have to dig into the properties for. And we'll notice if I change the size of this element, and I'll click back on it, we will see that the weight may not have updated, but if I go and I reopen my sync fab parameters, all you need to do is open that up and it's going to go through and update any of those values for us. Right? Very, very quick to get those values in. Then the last thing I'd like to show you very quickly, maybe you've got someone on the field who is bugging you to start working in a certain area and you need to get them a really quick bill of materials. Well, I can go ahead and pop open a really quick bill of materials. If I want to do one for pipe, just get a small selection of elements you care about, click finish, and it's going to automatically generate those schedules for pipe and for pipe fittings. Those will be dated and timed. Those are both sitting down here in my schedules. There's the one that I just created here on the 15th, and there is that pipe bill of materials coming out, giving me all that information. Very, very quick to get that extra data, very, very quick to give it to other people. Now, the last real step we have in detailing is generating some sort of a spool. So I'm going to jump back to my level 1 views here, and let's do this last spool step. So I'm going to go move over. I'm going to take a look at this area over here, and I'm going to spool the second header that I have sitting over here. So if I grab these elements as they sit, open those up in a 3D view, I'm going to get my 3D view just a little bit more pointed, so I'm only looking at the elements that I care about. I don't want to select anything that I don't intend to select, and this is a busy area. So I've cut it in. There's only the elements I care about selecting showing on screen. I can open up my Spool Manager. In the Spool Manager, it does a little bit more than just generates these spools. It makes it easier to figure out the spools that have already been created as well, and it'll automatically name those spools. So I'm going to go ahead and choose some elements across the top that I want to spool. I'm pretty happy with my selection right here. I can use the get current selection command to create that assembly within the Spool Manager. Once I choose it, I can generate views with the Generate Views button. I've already gone through and done a whole bunch of options for those views I'm about to set. We'll see those briefly when I look in options up here. Right? I've applied view templates. I've chosen the views I want. I'm tagging 3D views. I'm automatically dimensioning in 2D. Ooh, that's pretty big. Right? I've chosen some options. I've generated my spool, and now I want to look at it. Well, I can jump straight by using the open checked option. And there is that spool, right? It's gone through, it's dimensioned, it's bubbled, and yeah, you may wind up with a bubble that's a little bit outside of the area you want, but that's a small price to pay for guaranteeing that every single element that shows up in that 3D view has been tagged. You'll notice I am also tagging my welds. If you didn't want to tag a weld, it's as simple as turning it off inside your view template. We'll notice all that automatic dimensioning showing up here as well, really just giving us a spool sheet almost immediately, really, really fast, really, really nice. So spooling is now a breeze. We've created a bunch of stuff. We created some sheets, we created some spools. It's time to circle back to Core and really get to that final printing workflow. So if we get back to Core and we take a look, we have the Revision Manager. Revision Manager is allowing me to jump in and view every sheet that's in the project and even select a few of them. And I could even just push a revision to those elements right here. So all of these are now on revision 1. In fact, I could then filter and only see the elements I've tagged as revision 1. And I could even create a print set out of these elements, and I could call this low rev 1 print set. What's extra cool about that print set is I can now just tell some other intern or some other person to jump in here, go ahead and key up that print set and kick it out. But there is a little bit more as well, and I'm going to jump back to the PowerPoint here. We actually have the ability to start linking that print set to BIMrx Cloud Manager. So one of the amazing additions to BIMrx is the integration of Core and Cloud Manager. Cloud Manager already allows for the export of PDFs and NWC files from the Revit model on daily, weekly, and monthly bases. So how we just saw how to create those print sets, now we can use Cloud Manager Pro to take that print set and automate the export of PDFs on demand or on a schedule. This integration is really opening up possibilities for even more ways to automate your workflows. I'd just like to remind you, this webinar is part of a series, and you can catch the Cloud Manager webinar live or on our website shortly. Now, I'd just like to point out a few time savings. Really, the more elements you need to modify, the more time you're saving with BIMrx. The real question is, how much time are you wasting by not having BIMrx? We're really seeing about 90% time saved in project setup, about 65% on modeling, and another 94 or so % on documentation. And we just saw a large portion of these commands, but there's still more that we didn't actually get a chance to go to, and there's a whole bunch in Core that we didn't get to see at all. I'd like you to be aware that you can also couple the BIMrx Fabrication toolbar with the BIMrx Fabrication database. The Fabrication database is a database of thousands of parts, and now in the latest version, it includes material and labor cost information from CINX and NCAA respectively. Definitely check it out, something worth adding to your arsenal. I really appreciate everyone taking the time out of your day to learn about fabrication. For more information on BIMrx, please visit our website or the Microdesk website. You will be able to view the products, schedule demos, and get in touch with the right people to help get you started with BIMrx. And again, a reminder, this is part of a webinar series. Feel free to join in to the MEP webinar, more fabrication webinars, or the Cloud Manager webinar.